Okay, so yesterday we started Perek Lamed Hey. Truth is, we actually started it together last week. But Perek Lamed Hey is La, it's Shechina. We're learning about Shosh Shechina. Hashem gives us the opportunity to work, and even though usually I only learn Tanya weekly for this year, being that we're in a war, and being that yesterday we already started after tomorrow, before why not carry on until we're back to the regular schedule, Chaparayan, and get through this shtickle of Shosh Shechina. Yeah, we need more Schusay Torah, we need more merits for Am Yisrael. I was even speaking to Shlomo about it, like how much we need to get together again and start learning a bit more in the community as well, for even during this time, figure out a way to do it that won't, offend anybody or contradict any of the rules somehow. But anyway, the concept of Shosh Shechina, that we start when we learned together the other day. We were going around the concept of Beinani, because in the end you have to be a Beinani to really enter this part of Tanya, or at least be aware of the concepts and aspire to be a level of a Beinani. It means basically not doing any Averas and being real that you can't get rid of the uncleanliness, the part of not good within us. It's just part of our reality. We have a Torah inside an Nefesh Bahamis, and that's very important to realize. Having an animal soul is everyday life for us. So Shmuel Diamond, come back to him. I was just listening to a show from him just now on definitions on Tanya, but he has a beautiful summary on the Tanya, and we mentioned it yesterday. The analogy of the candle. This is the next part which we learned yesterday. The candle analogy is the flame, the wick, the oil. The light of the Shechina is the flame, the wick is the body, and the oil is the mitzvahs. You heard this concept? So just to say in Lashon Kodesh, there's the Eish, there's the what would you say a wick is? Here it brings Amarek. Pasila, very good. Petila. But it also brings here a different notion. It says in the Zohar Kodesh, it says it's all talking about the union of the Gilu Shechina on top of a person, yeah, like with the yarmulke and the whole thing. The Shechina Shoy al Reisha. The Shechina is on where the head is. And this is where it gets to the Moshul. Kad anui taman nanada dahu noira dadlik al Reisha istarach mishcha. Yeah, begin the gufa. The goof is the pasila, like you said, very good. The pasila is the wick, and that's the goof in the reality of it. The or the aish is the shechina, and what gives fuel to it. Begin the gufa devad veish pasila denora adlik leila shloma malka savach v'ama shemen al reshecha al yechsa. So it's a pasuk from I think from Mishlei.
Okay, so what does Torah want to give it to now?
So let's first explain. Oh, sorry, Kehelis. It's Kehelis. The Shemin, Shlomo Melech is being Masbir. The Shemin are Reshecha or Yachsa. You won't lack any Shemin on your head. So what's the concept? The Shemin is the mitzvahs. Yeah? Inan Abden Tavan Al Da Chochem Eina Baroshav Adkan Lashoni. So we haven't really got into this, explaining this Moshe yet, but using a Shmuel Diamond summary, we're already giving a Hagdama that in order to bring down the Shechina, you have to have Torah mitzvahs, but the mitzvahs is the most important part. And we're going to see in a minute, because the mitzvahs gives the power for the Nefesh Elokis to join together with the Nefesh Bahamis and have the concept of Bittul B'Metzias. Because generally, a person, when you have a body, you're a yesh. Yeah, you think you're something. Yeah. And that's the general reality of Nefesh Bahamis. You identify. Remember, we're talking about this a lot. You identify yourself with your body. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'm this. I'm that. Yeah. You don't say I'm a neshama. Ani neshama tahari. Yeah. I'm a pure soul. Yeah. Grasa v'shvasa. You're not talking in those ways. You don't talk about yourself as serving. Like David HaMelech says, Ani David Abdecha, yeah? He's Ani Abdecha. He says, I'm your servant. That's how David identified. David HaMelech destroyed his Yitzra'el, so he was a Sadak. Us.
The Matara is an Inyan, we should be like Malachim.
No.
Malachim has enough malachim.
No, we have a guf.
The Holy Matar is to make us the guf.
Very good. And that's the bittul. It's not just even malay. You're right. There is a concept of elevation that we talked about last week.
You have to.
Balascha, where you talked about the elevating the guf. Here, it is being elevated, but the nekuda is bittul b'metzias. It's a nullification, and not in a negative feeling, because people think nullifying bittul is something negative. Bittul is the geschmackest thing there is. Because when we were learning with the rabbi this Shabbos, the Chabadnik, you weren't there, but this Shabbos, the Chabad rabbi, I'm sure where you were, he mentioned this concept. If you were by Rav Ginsburg's Talmidim, they're going to talk about bittul. About bittul. The Indian of bittul, to really get to simcha, there has to be bittul. It just comes together. We didn't mention this yesterday, maybe it wouldn't have been appropriate. If you'd say to people who are still a bit more working out the Yiddishkeit, you start talking about bittul too much, it can, especially if you just don't explain it properly, it can confuse people. You have to explain that bittul is actually the most geschmack thing. It brings you to true simcha. And this is the Indian of Shah Shechina. Remember, we mentioned Shechina, it can't be sure, Ela B'tok Dalej Almas Shah Halacha, Ela B'tok Simcha. And that's brought as Ferish and Chazal, that's the cloud. You see with the Rebbe, Nor Simcha, Rak Simcha, always talking about be happy, Simcha, the smiling. We talked about yesterday, especially during this time, it's very, you could be more anxious, you could be more, a little bit, my gym's closed, I can't go swimming, I can't do work, I can't this, can't that, all the things you can't do, because of the lockdown or because of the war. And then there's getting woken, blowing out your bed in the middle of the night with all the missiles and stuff, and all that. So you can start to feel, oh my gosh. So you have to work on more and more on your simcha and your bittul and doing mitzvahs, even in this situation. Getting up in the morning and even with the difficult night and coming and putting on tefillin and sanctifying your guf through the Torah mitzvahs, through the tefillah. And this is the avoda. But the key is to remember the pasuk here. It says, a few psukim, you shouldn't lack any shemen on your head. So that constant doing mitzvahs, I would say. And we're going to learn in a minute. The Chochem, he's always looking ahead. That's the Chochem Eina Barosha. He's always looking forward to another mitzvah. The reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. We want to constantly be busy with mitzvahs. That's why the Rebbe was so strong. Ikihim mitzvah. Let's see now what the Tanya says. Yeah, go on.
When something dies, also feeling ben anecho. Which stuff has to be ben nine? Ben nine. I heard a whole Torah about the story. You heard of one time? Ben anecho. So it finishes to be ben nine.
Sure.
What stuff about dies in the Jews?
Well, one of the most important. There's two ways of connecting to Hashem in terms of Torah. There's Tol Shema and Tal Chazi. So when you come to listen, the rabbis say Tol Shema, Tana Rabbanim. Come listen. Shema, that's Shema Yisrael, that's listening, and then there's the whole avoda of Riyah, Pashas Re'eh, Tal Chazi, the Chazal, and the Zohar says come see. There's the Gilui, and there's obviously different levels. One is more Tali on Namuna, the other one's more Tali on Gilui, on Misakim.
Why do we say Zohar is too Chazi and the Gemara Toshma?
In a way, Chazal is on a high level.
Come see.
Because Zohar's Rebbe is Gilui, is on the level of Gilui, and Chazal is a level of Amunah Sachomim. You have to have Amunah and Chachomim. You're not seeing the Gilui. You don't see how the panemius of what Chazal is saying. When you learn, even at Galata, we're going to be starting, please go, we're just finishing off Shavuos. This week we're going to start learning the Seftas of Avodah Zarah. So it's a lot of Galata. Especially at the beginning, so 25 dafim, I think, of Agarata. And when we're learning Agarata, this is the Yain of Torah, but because we don't have the Zohar, which is more beferish, we don't really see the Gilui. So we learn it with Amunah Sachomim to understand the panemius of what the Chazal are teaching us. Anyway, let's get back to the Tanya. At the top of this special set. I'm not using my usual lessons in Tanya, unfortunately, so I'm having to figure out the translation a little bit more harder work for me. So this is what we were getting at. That the Baal of the mashal, the explanation of the mashal is of the hamshel or the Shechina, to be able to bring that or a Shechina to Haneh of the candle. Remember we said you have the Shechina shore on your head, and the Zohar brings this concept. How do we understand this in a visual sense? We want it because the Zohar wants to give you an image. of the most panemius thing. He wants to give you a visualization. One of the most important parts of Torah when you learn panemius Torah is to learn how to visualize these concepts. If you keep it all in words, you're not going to get the panemius. To get to the panemius, you have to draw it out for visualization. So how do you bring out the visualization? You bring out the visualization through learning the Gilui, that's in the Zohar Kodesh. And this is the concept in terms of this moshel of having a candle. A candle represents the wick is the guf, the shemen is the mitzvah, and that's so the wick we said is pasila, and the shemen is the oil is the mitzvah, and the flame, the eish, this is the shechina, shor. So that is a gilui. You are a walking example of when you have the shechina shor on you, the shemen, the mitzvahs you're doing are lighting up, making lit the guf. Yeah, giving a lichtigkeit to your guf. And like you said, it's elevation, it's elevating the guf like a candle, it elevates the flame higher and higher. But really it's more an Indian of bittul than mitzvahs, because the basil becomes bottled to the flame and it's burning up. Yeah, that's the. So let's see. He's going to explain it. He says, "Hanesh einu maya nechaz basila bli shemen kach eina shchina shor al guf ha'odem shenimshol basila ela ayidei maasim tovim dafka v'lo dailo nishmaso shechelek alakam imao liotz hi kashemen basila." It's not enough to say I have a godly soul. I'm a heilige yid. I'm a Yiddish neshama. That's not enough. Yeah, people think this generation. We just actually there was a film here. So the world, in the general world, they talk about this. It was about emotions, understanding emotions for children and things like that. So the way the world gets it is you're enough. They tell everyone you're enough. You're okay. Yeah, you're gewaldi. The Baal Hatanya takes it the whole another level. You're a mamish. You're a godly neshama. But in order for it to bring down the shorosh shechina to olam hazeh, we have to do mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim. We have to bring it into the guf, into the basil. We have to bring the shechina into this world. That is the inyan of bittul mitzias. And if we don't do that, then it's very gewaldic that you can stand there and say, "I'm a chelek elokam mamish," but you didn't fulfill what Hashem put you here. Gewaldic. Hashem made that gewaldic a godly neshama, but He put it down here for it to make elevate and light up this world. Hashchina shora al guf adam nimshal basila el ayidei maasim tovim dafkav lo dai lo v'nishmaso shechel elekam emao lios hi kashem basila mevar chumuvan lechol maskel ki hine nishmas adam filu hu sadik gomo but Hashem b'yira v'ava b'tanugim. So even if you have this gavaldik yid with the holy neshama of a person, and the sadik gomo, this complete righteous person, is serving Hashem with yira and ava all the way you should, but tanugim, all these high madrigas of ava rabba, ava all these levels of getlikkeit, as they say in Yiddish, like godliness. He has big misagim, like in Rav Simai Zilberg Tzadik, or someone who's jumping out of his kalim for Vodas Hashem. Afal pi kain eina betelu mesias gamrei levatel klal bo Hashem mamish lios lachtim biyuchad gamo. You're not going to get to that level of this gewaldika or Hashem, be included and bottle in the Metzias, be nullified in the complete Messias of the light of Hashem mamish, only to unify himself with this ultimate yichud, the complete yichud, the complete unification. Rak hu davar pnei atzmo, he's still going to be himself. Yira Hashem ba'avog MASHA ein kein b'mitzvos ma'asim tovim shein ratzon yisbarach shehein ratzon. It means that they are the ratzon Hashem, and the mitzvahs and the ma'asim tovim, they're the way that we become bottled the Metzias. All the levels of madrigas of ruchnias, ava and yira and tanugim and yichud and all this gevaldik gezach, but it's not the yichud shalem. The yichud gamor only comes through Torah mitzvahs ma'asim tovim, and that brings down the inyan of bittul mitzias. That is the ratzon Hashem. The ratzon no yisbarach hu makor chaim lekol alomis habuim sheroid aleim ayidei simsumim rabim. Remember, this is a very deep concept in Panemius, that the ratzon Hashem is the root of life, and all the worlds that were created come down upon them. How? Through many contractions, rabim, vahest upon him, and all the different hidings of Hashem's levels and madrigas, whatever that means, but all the gilui or the or gets hidden. Sharotz and Elyon BORUCH, all the way, the will of the highest of Hashem, you read it, go all the way down. Obviously Hashem doesn't have any madrigas, but the concept of the Rotz and Elyon is this from the higher world come all the way down. Yeah, the place where there's complete bittul to Hashem. There's only Hashem. Yeah, Einam about a mamish begilui b'shleimus and rotzen in this higher world comes all the way down through all the ulamas, through all the worlds. You read this in Madregas ad sheochelis avos haboris yesh ma'ayin, until he's able to bring out this concept of creation of something from nothing. V'daven nifra pnei atzma v'lo bitlu b'mesias kanal. MASHA ein came a mitzvah shehem pnimis rotzono yisbarach ein sham hest upon him klau ein chayes shebehem dava nifra b'pnei atzma klau Eliyahu miyuchad dekal so yisbarach hayla achtim mamish b'yichud goma. So the chiluk is that when you do learning Torah or something, or you're tuning into the Ratzon Hashem, but you're still not bottom. There's all these madregas, there's all this hest upon him. When you do a mitzvah, there's no hest upon him. You do a mitzvah, you're mamshich the Ratzon of Hashem without any simsim, without any hidingness of Hashem. You're creating a yichud goma from the highest to the lowest. Everything becomes bottled with mitzias into the mitzias of Hashem, and that's a yichud goma. That's a complete yichud. That's a complete, and that's why it's so important. There's so many mitzvahs we can do. Kibbutz avim every day. Kibbutz avim. Today I spoke to my father, to Mechabedim. Yeah, you get speak to Mami and Tati to Mechabedim. The mitzvah, you become bottom of mitzias every time you do the mitzvah of Kibbutz avim. Obviously, you have to learn the laws, halachas, and figure out and work in your kibbutz towards them, and etc. Every time you're showing your pet, all the different mitzvahs of Shemir Saloshan, and every time you say Krishma morning and night. Yeah, you yichud goma. I mean, that literally is a yichud goma. But the concept is that you're tuning into the unification. People want unity. People want unification. How are you going to get to unity and unification? Through mitzvahs. We're getting people to do ma'asim tovim. Each of us need to work on it more and more to get to that level of yichud, because all the higher levels of under misagim are not going to be the same level as just doing a pashta mitzvah of tzedakah, helping someone with a load. This is what Hashem wants us to do in this world, and that brings down the ultimate yichud, the ultimate inyan of bitul mitzias, and that's the way we then start to get the shoras of Shechina, and that's what we're going to get to next. We'll learn that next time. Hina inyan shoras of Shechina hu gilui elikusa yisbarach v'ensav BORUCH ba'ezeh daven. It brings down into this thing, and then that's the next concept in the Shechina. And you understand now, it fits the mashal. The more the shemen is there, the more the Shechina can be sure, because you're in a state of bitul mitzias. And the sila, the wick, the goof is now being lit up again and again and again in the yichud.
Longer.
So because you're learning all these misagim, you can sit in a strong shir, but your body's not getting into a state of bitul mitzias. Maybe on the level of mitzvahs Talmud Torah on some level, but until you really are doing ma'asim tovim, actually doing it by power and it's with your goof, then it becomes about mamish b'tubah mitzias. And now that's the point. The limud lamed the last sois to kaim. It's called dibei sam sois b'yahava. We have to do it, and that's avoda. Anyway, we should be zocher that Tanya's giving us a very big or. That's shlichus to do it in this world. That was what the Meragelim were scared. They were scared to do it in this world. They were scared to do the will of Hashem in this world. They were scared that this world seems so challenging, and yet they had the Gebura, they had the Koyach. Yeah, Yeshua ben Nun and Kala ben Yifuna to kovish the land, and to bring them in the Mitzvot.
Waarom is die Yeshua? Daf Chof in the Keter Regel in the Bobikame. Wat alcohol die hier, after hotel. It was
getting a bit late, so we can't go too long.
One of the tzaddikim tell him, "Lechet l'shamish li shokal sudrei." Before he wanted to tell him what's a mishnah. Tell him before I will tell you what's a mishnah. Can I call? Make a mitzvah. Tell him to take money my baggage, I think. You see, it's
mishnah. He gave him a message straight away.
Because you tell that the blood mitzvah. Then
what does it say? When it says about what does it say about the higher madrega? What's the bigger madrega? To learn Torah or shemish tamar chachamim? What's the highest level really? Shemish tamar chachamim.
You know what Rashi says?
So what is shemish tamar chachamim? When Elisha was Meshamish Eliyahu Novi, that's the voice. That's the highest level of Torah. Because now you're Meshamishim. Yeah, because now you're doing the Torah.
When you
Meshamishim, you're giving him his jacket, you're bringing him a sefer. You know, you look at the shir, the Rebbe shir, Tom the Rebbe, and that guy standing there, yeah? You know, Chavar, he broke his leg, but he wants to come back and forth and give the Rebbe svarim.
Any of them you're going to do, make me
So
mishamish?
who's an example who was a Gavaldik Talmud of a Rebbe? Yeshua ben Nun. And Yeshua ben Nun and Colin ben Yefuna. They were the ones from the Meraglim, the Baal Shem Tov. I brought this here as well. Because they weren't involved with what the Rishayim were saying. They didn't join themselves up with what they were saying. They were busy with the Tzaddik. That's what protected them. The fact that Yeshua was given extra oaths, because he was davik to the tzaddik of the door. He was the Meshamish's Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu. He was waiting for his Rebbe the whole time when he was up in Har Sinai. That was his avoda. And if you Meshamish a Tamachov, that's why it's so important. It's not good enough to sit and open up a Gemara and learn and go through Masechtas. You have to find a Tamachov and Meshamish him. I sat by Ravida every day and learned. Went through, come out all of the first two Chalachim Mishnah Berurah with a Tamachov with a Posek. You have to sit there with a Rav and ask him questions, all kinds of Lamaisa questions.
Like you don't want to tell him.
You bring
You don't want to tell him. You don't want to tell the Mishnah.
Yeah, but that's
do something for me.
So you have to. It's not enough just to sit and learn. There has to be a connection with mitzvahs, with Ma'asim Tovim. There has to be a connection with a Talmid Chacham that brings it to life. Yes, it's not just all in your head. We have to. Yiddishkeit has to become more and more a part of our life. Not just be in our mind. It has to come down into our life. That's what the Chabad, you see, they're most successful in doing this in Yiddishkeit. They're bringing Yiddishkeit to everyone and everything and everywhere, in every way, because the Rebbe pushed into them. Ikehiyah Maisa. The main thing is go do. And then they're coming bottom of Metzias, they're becoming nullified to the ultimate truth that Hashem is one. And they're bringing that into the reality, just like the soldiers when they go out and do shlichus and they're serving the higher purpose of bringing the Shekhinah through being most nefesh for Hashem. And we should be zocheh, they should all be healthy. And Hashem, in the merit of our learning, we should have any more sirens. Am Yisrael should be matzliach, the gamrei to kovish all our enemies. And Be'ez Hashem, we should zocheh to now get to the most important part, not just destroying terror from the world, but now bringing light to the world. That's what we're here for. It's amazing, we're burning up all these Rishayim, but now we need to be the light.
זה פרשה, כי אתה רואה מלחמה